As far as I'm concerned, bring on John Wick 4. John Wick 3 Parabellum is directed by Chad Stahelski and stars Keanu Reeves, Halle Berry, Lawrence Fishburne, Ian McShane, and a slew of others. And in this one, we're taking up from part 2, where John Wick broke the rules and killed someone on consecrated ground, so to speak, and now has a huge bounty on his head. Every assassin in the city wants to take him out. So what is he to do? What John Wick does best. John Wick 3. This is a movie where, this is a franchise, and I'm calling it a franchise right now because I see no sign of this slowing down. That we didn't see coming at all. Arguably, Keanu Reeves, he's always been relevant, but he's never been as iconic as he's been in these movies, and for good reason. So let's get into it. So first of all, there's the visuals. And this movie looks fantastic. John Wick 1, of course, was a more intimate tale. You could tell, they had less of a budget to work with, less locations to work with. John Wick 2 evolved, built on that. And John Wick 3, here we have many, many different set pieces, many locations, and each and every one of them look fantastic. We have the hotel, of course, that was introduced in part 2. And we get to see more of that. The lighting in this movie, I just love the use of neon. And of course, those wide shots where you get to see everything that's going on, these long takes. This movie is just a blast to behold. The way when the Bourne movies first came out, the Jason Bourne movies, that shot action in a way we hadn't seen it before. Very frenetic, very quick cuts. But everything looked really cool because it was something we hadn't seen. John Wick, how it's done is that it's taken what was basically abused after the Bourne Identity movies, in which people just started doing these really quick cuts so you couldn't tell what the hell was going on in a fight scene, and they opened that up so you get to see everything in its glory. And these fight sequences are so well choreographed and so well shot. My absolute favorites, the knife sequence, I'll call it, and the sequence with Halle Berry's character and her dogs. I mean, every single action sequence worked because they were all there was so much variety. It wasn't all just gun battles. We get to see martial arts, we get to see guns, swords, knives, books, you name it. They threw it at you in this movie, and it all worked. The fights in this are very, very well shot. And you can tell that Keanu has gotten in there and he's doing this stuff. That's another reason this movie works so well, is that he does a lot of this stuff himself, and we always appreciate that as fans. Another aspect of this film that I quite liked is the pacing. I was never bored with this movie. Granted, there is something that happens in the middle that makes things wobble a bit. But again, I've never found myself like looking at my watch or wondering how much longer this movie is. The pacing of this movie is pretty steady, and it changes from scene to scene in a way that you never really get bored. You're never in one location too long to say that you're gonna get bored. As for the actors, I think everybody here is having a hell of a time with their roles, down to the I don't want to say the doorman, the concierge, played by this wonderful actor. I'm very sorry, I'm a huge Destiny fan and I call him Commander Zavala all the time. I will put his real name here, my apologies. We get to see him do his thing. Ian McShane, of course, Keanu Reeves, I think, has become John Wick for us. It's almost like the way you think Robert Downey Jr., you think Iron Man, you think Keanu Reeves, now you think John Wick. He can play this character with his eyes blindfolded. But for me, the wonderful inclusion in this movie has to be Halle Berry. We haven't really seen her. She tries her hand in these types of action films, and she hasn't had much success at all, in my opinion. It's been meh, that kind of thing. And we won't even begin to talk about Catwoman. But here, she really shines. And again, like Keanu, she went the extra mile. I read that she actually took part in working with the dog trainer and training those dogs so that they would work well with her, so you could tell everybody was invested, everybody is having a good time. Mark Dacascos, oh my god, Mark Dacascos is in this, and he's actually, for me, one of the most fun villains we've seen in the John Wick series. You know, the villains in the John Wick movies, they've been, you know, you know, they're just kind of guys to take out, you know, almost like video game characters. But I felt like his character was one that I would have liked to see come back again, because he has this weird fan obsession with John Wick. You know, at the same time, it's like a samurai where you're the best, so everybody wants to challenge you. That's his kind of thing with John Wick. I loved it. I thought he was amazing. As for the negatives, guys, for me, I know the story, the John Wick story, some people think it's a bit too out there. It's too crazy, too unbelievable. You know, this world of assassins that exists within our world and all that sort of stuff. One of the reasons for me that this story doesn't really affect me negatively is that I have always, since part one, I've treated the John Wick movies like graphic novels that have been brought to the screen. It's actually quite the opposite, where the John Wick movies has now been turned into comic books. I feel like this is a comic book world. So I'm willing to grant a lot more leeway in terms of believability when it comes to the John Wick movies. So the story, the craziness of it, the unbelievable nature of all these different assassins and these secret societies, that stuff doesn't bother me. I enjoy it for what I feel it is. It's like it's like a multiverse thing. It's not our world, so to speak. Negative though for me was there is something that happens further down in the movie. I don't want to get too spoilerish. This movie just came out. But there's a scene where his character goes to the desert to try and meet the head of the whole thing, so to speak. And John makes a decision. We see why he makes that decision. And I know why he did it, you know, because let's just say it was a rock and a hard place sort of thing, the choices he was given. So you get why he makes a decision. He explains himself. But right after that, not maybe 10 minutes later, he goes back against the decision that he made. Again, I'm glad he did. I like the characters. I want to see them in other movies and in future films. But it just seems so odd to me. The sacrifice seemed like it wasn't of any worth because of what he did, and then just went back and said, well, no, you know what, I changed my mind. I'm not going to do it this way. That's as vague as I can make it, guys. When you see the movie, you'll see what I'm talking about. And for me, it just felt like, well, what was the point of that whole thing? So, again, guys, in terms of storytelling, John Wick, it is a bit out there, you know. It does get a little surreal at times. He does come across more like a superhero in this one. The level of damage John takes and just keeps on going. It's a little inhuman, but all of that can be forgiven because this movie is one of the best action movies I have seen since Mission Impossible Fallout. Which in itself is a bit surreal when you think about the stuff that Ethan Hunt survives. So there you go. I love this film. I love this franchise. I want to see it continue. Like I said, we go into this for the action, we go into this for the visuals, and we go into this for that iconic character named John Wick. I had a blast with this movie, and I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. And there's nothing left to say. So if you guys like this video, please feel free to hit that thumbs up button. It's very much appreciated. If you want to subscribe to my channel, you can click on my face right over there. And until next time, guys, bye bye.